going on, fellas? Just wanted to make a quick video to, I guess, get this out. I've been saying it for years, and I really want the idea to be expressed a little more often. So maybe if it reaches a few more ears, it'll get out there a bit. It's obviously about Street Fighter. You're on my little Street Fighter page. And what I want to discuss is Capcom dropping the ball. If anybody's old school enough, they'll remember at one time we were playing 4 or 5 different Street Fighter games at a single event. Meaning we were playing ST, CVS2, Third Strike, Alpha 3, I mean, it's just ridiculous now that we've been reduced to one game, and a game that, don't get me wrong, I love a lot of things about it, but there's also a lot of stupidity involved with Street Fighter 4. And even though I'm a fan of things, when I'm a real fan, when I'm really passionate about something, I can really I can really find the flaws. Problem with society today, not just in Street Fighter, is that they have this be positive thing, which really what they're saying is don't engage in anything that might cause a negative feeling or show something in a negative light. This is ridiculous. This isn't how things are perfected and refined. A positive attitude creates positive and negative things depending on how you apply it. Same thing with a negative attitude. Just like, we have two sides of our brain. The idea that we're only supposed to function in one thing and that's going to lead to the best end result is nonsense. Complete nonsense. But people like it because, they can feel good all the time, but that's not the way it is. The positive aspect of things is it promotes creation. Okay, the negative part actually promotes the perfection of that creation. This is something really hard to articulate, so this isn't what this video is about, but just to give an example, when somebody creates, say, a sculpture or a game, anything, you can look at everything that you like about it, but that doesn't mean you're going to find it perfect. And if you ask somebody to look for the flaws, and this is where your detractors come in, this is where the people that diss you actually can make you a stronger individual. This is just ways to apply these philosophies when you can look at something you love and see the points where it fails or it could be better. People will say you're being negative because you're pointing out the flaw. But that's not true. If you notice, something's crooked, like in your picture frames or something in your house, what do? You straighten it, right? You fix it, you refine it, and it becomes better. It's that simple. So when looking at these games, don't think for a second that when I praise or diss any particular Street Fighter game, that's the only perspective I can choose. I'm sort of playing a game. I'm speaking from that perspective. It's not the only perspective. So, that being said, Capcom has really dropped the ball in recent years. It wasn't because Street Fighter 4 is such a great game and it revived the scene. That's another topic for another time. It's the mediums and how exposed people can be to it. We have YouTube, we have Twitch, we have PC, all the game systems, stick companies. There's all these things that coalesced and should have happened much sooner. But, come around 2008, 2009, everybody started to see what guys like Todd Dwyer and Jason Wilson, the Cannons, myself, a lot of us old schoolers saw from the beginning. And people were laughing at us. I remember tons of times people were laughing at me just for the idea that you could create a community around one kind of game. And, yeah, well, who's laughing now? Anyway, so this is really about the whole Street Fighter 4 thing. What did they do wrong with Street Fighter 4? That's not what it is. What it is about the whole marketing thing. Okay, you got 44 models. Remember back in the day when we were playing all these games at once, you had, Morgan's Darkstalkers 1 model being used in MVC2. You had, same with, Alpha sprites in MVC, in multiple games. We reused sprites in, Ono's failed Capcom fighting jam. So Ono's hit and miss too. I think Capcom gets really lucky with some of their games. Anyway, the real issue is that we should be playing and paying for more than one Street Fighter game at a time. It's ridiculous. We have 2 Smash games in EVO, and we have 1 Street Fighter game. And it's arguable, certainly debatable, whether it's a really good Street Fighter game or not. I'll say it is now, but I can also say it's not, and I can give reasons for both. As I was saying, I can pick either side. I'm good at playing devil's advocate if I choose to. I can annoy people that way. So here's where they really failed during, Street Fighter 4 came out in what, 2008? So they've had these models the entire time. And then you have guys that instantly, once Cross Tekken came out, started putting the Street Fighter characters in PC mods for Street Fighter 4. We even have a PC mod for the 3 series in Street Fighter 4. 1 or 2 people are doing these things, and Capcom wasn't smart enough to take these models and make other Street Fighter games with them. That's silly. Silly. I've been saying they needed to Maddenize Street Fighter for years, and now they're finally making it a service. They're still doing it wrong. We would all pay for a new game every year if they did things the right way, and we'd be happy about it. Which, oh my gosh, the marketing tactics they've tried, gems, and oh gosh, man, this is silly. What they should have been doing in Street Fighter 4 was taking these models and having people remap them with different art. That's it. And now you can reprogram totally different games. You could have a 3 series type game, an Alpha series type game, a Street Fighter 4 series type game, a Street Fighter 2 type game. You can have all these different forms of Street Fighter with these new models, totally different art. They wasted the models. They used it for 1 game. So they have all this work on 1 game, and then they're selling it for 5. Instead of coming up with Omega and testing that, they should have made an entirely different game that played, like one of the other Street Fighter games that we miss, and had them go congruently in events. People could debate which one is better, but they would both be getting played and both be getting paid for. And you'd be paying the full price for a Third Strike game or a Street Fighter 3 type game in 3D. No doubt you would. Even if they didn't change the art, even if they didn't remap the polygons and they just reprogrammed it, put different backgrounds in there or whatever, they could have just repackaged it and we'd be playing it in events right now. And Capcom can't clue in. I mean, I sort of think it's Sony that's finally getting Capcom to realize the way they market Street Fighter is ancient. Yes, they should be doing upgrades. That's awesome. But this should be obvious from the beginning. Also, their speed. This is something, Street Fighter is not, it doesn't need to be slow. Slow people like that. What happened back in the day when Champion Edition came out, people were still playing it. Nobody had experienced using the strategies at a faster pace. Yes, when the strategies went at a faster pace, some people fell off. Because, hey, yeah, you can play chess and you can do strategy if it's slow, but when you need reflexes, when you need to think faster, it's a little more difficult to apply that strategy. But we got used to it, and everybody loved it. And if you look at the most played Street Fighter 2 versions, they're Hyper Fighting, or Turbo Hyper Fighting, and Super Turbo. Wonder why that is. Because they're better games. It's not because they're accessible, it's because they're better games. And instead of making games that are that great that people want to play forever, I think the idea is let's dumb it down, get everybody playing them, and then, we can move on. And no, you want games to be played constantly. You want 4 or 5 Street Fighters being played in competitions and updating those every year, year and a half, and having people pay full price for each one of those 5 games every other year. There's a lot more money to be made off the work they put in, and they're just not getting it. So I just wanted to get this out there. Look, when you have these models for Street Fighter 5, you don't need to make a Street Fighter 6, and you don't need new models. What you need to do is decide, okay, We need another game like this. You don't need to give Ryu a parry to bring in all the third strike players, because then you're going to have a bunch of people that enjoy the parry, and they're going to be frustrated that they can only use Ryu to utilize that technique. You know, it makes me want to use Ryu. And yeah, I'm getting different, I'm hearing different opinions as far as how parries are implemented in Street Fighter V. Some say it's easier, some say it's harder. It's irrelevant. If it's a nice game feature, people are going to, especially a block and counter feature, that's not even a V skill. Anyway, that's just silly. Okay. Street Fighter with parries is a totally different game than Street Fighter without parries. And there's no reason we shouldn't be playing both. Okay. Even with the same models. So they should be making more than one game and selling it as separate games, because we'll be playing them as separate games. You won't be, I mean, all they have to do is change the data for all the moves. They don't even need to change the art. But as far as changing the art, they can use the same models and remap different art. Simple. They should have followed more of a Madden style program. Nobody's gonna nobody's gonna say anything about buying a new Madden. But Capcom was too busy listening to the stupid magazines with bullcrap journalists that are getting paid for their opinions, talking about, oh, another Street Fighter game with, it's basically the same thing, just with new characters. And what? But all these sports games aren't the same thing, just with new rosters, right? You understand, the thought process isn't linear, and Capcom seems to have fallen for that, and they started worrying about people repeating this nonsense. Only idiots are going to say that kind of stuff, and if you're reading articles written by these idiots, you're an idiot for not thinking it through. Nobody's going to sit there and go, oh, chess is the same old game. If it's a brilliant game, are you kidding me? So, I'm a bit done with this rant, but I just wanted to get it out there that Capcom needs to make the most out of the work they put in it. They want to complain about not having money. They want to complain. I'm not saying that Capcom is complaining. I'm saying I've seen press releases. I should word this better, but this is just off the top. I've seen press releases that literally say, Capcom doesn't have money for this, Capcom doesn't have money for that. Well, maybe if they were a little more strategic with their marketing and getting more bang for, getting more buck for their bang, so to speak, using the same models with different art. I mean, if one person can turn Street Fighter 4 into Third Strike in 3D, you're telling me that that instead of Omega, or instead of just another balance, Capcom couldn't have done that and sold it as a whole new game? Are you kidding me? That's silly. Silly. Capcom was smart to include the characters from Cross Tekken. And I'm not saying they implemented them the greatest, I'm just saying it was smart. Because when fans can do it, there's no reason Capcom, whose paid employees should be pretty good, can't do it. That would be ridiculous. And that's what it is when you sit there and have 44 models through all these years and you use them for one game. Moronic. Get it together, Capcom. Let me know what you guys think, man. Maybe you guys are seeing something that I don't, and if you do, please let me know. Aside from that, I just wanted to throw something out there, throw some thoughts out there. I'm a little medicine heady tonight, so I figured, hey, can't really think that much. Let me just ran a video out. So that's basically what I did. Alright guys, love y'all. One love. Peace. I'm out.